Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, where we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Join me on the first and third Thursdays on the Dr. Diane Show, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting-edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. And please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. I'm excited today to have with me Seema Dasani. Her education and experience spans over 30 years in corporate and wellness settings. She is a licensed professional counselor and a certified holistic health counselor. She specializes in holistic psychotherapy, and her core focus is true nourishment. Her work is well suited for people who feel stuck and want to live a more conscious life, a life strewn with a deeper sense of meaning and contentment. People usually come to her reporting symptoms of depression, anxiety, and relationship challenges. The technique Seema uses is called Eidetic Imagery, which provides a visual and visceral way to access stuck and frozen hurts and pains so they can be examined, worked on, and metabolized to enable a healing elixir to flow into the mind and body so true holistic healing can take place. And you can learn more about Seema at her website, which is www.seemadasani.com. So welcome, Seema. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Diane? It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So we're going to get into a lot of what you do throughout the show today, but I always like to start with finding out a little bit more about you and how you were attracted to the disciplines that you do and kind of what you did previously in your career and all that, and kind of what took you down this journey to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, no, I'd love to share that. So I might be speaking for a bit, if that's okay, just because I
Sure.
think it'd be good to start from the beginning. So in a nutshell, my practice focus area is alchemy of true nourishment, and that is really like my personal experience. It's just everything in the last 52 years has kind of led me to this point, if you will. But if I were to sort of start just a little bit of background, I'm ethnically Indian. I was born in Hong Kong. I came to America for college, and then this has been my home for like the last 30 plus years. So, really kind of been the gamut. And I would say, sort of growing up, it's a very high achiever mindset, being Indian and Asian culture, very high achiever, high achiever. And when I came to the US, also in that was etched in me. So when I graduated, I joined a consulting firm, and that was my home for about 10 years. And high achieving, just focus, focus, work, work,
Right.
knew how to get it done. And then I would say at 33 was really when I hit the first, call it a breakdown, depression, but it was the sense of like everything just felt like, what's going on? I couldn't even muscle my way forward, to wake up, to want to get up. I remember at that moment, I was just thinking, I just want to get up in the morning. That was all I could kind of muster, out of me. I just want to get up in the morning. And I didn't know if that was a prayer, cry for help, I don't know. But then like within a week, everywhere I turned was like, do this holistic health coaching program. And I was like, what is this? This is like the first time in my life I didn't do an ROI on like, okay, what are my returns on
Right.
this thing? So I did the program while I was able to keep my consulting job. And that just started opening up doors. I was able to transition out of my work into a startup as the VP Wellness. And then at 36, because I kind of entered the world of, food, eating better, thinking better, working with people. And then when I was 36, I started being introduced to more like spiritual ideas, so I would go to like Reiki things and soul retrievals and kind of play in that sandbox. And it was a lot of fun. It was great. And I would be very high. But then when I would kind of go back to my normal life, I'd feel very ungrounded and very off. So there was almost this split going on in me. But I was in a very workshop heavy time of my life. And when I was at 39, I remember going to a workshop and it was on compassionate communications. And again, you have to imagine the old Seema, like this Seema, when I had my first child, I read 6 books and did an Excel spreadsheet and was like, I'm going to nail this birth. That is the woman I was. So I
Right.
went to this workshop at 39. I said, on compassionate communications, and I just said, my name is Seema and I want to speak my truth and I just don't know what that is. And I started bawling. And that is not Seema back then. Okay. It
Right.
was like, what is happening? And then somebody just slipped me the name of this therapist. It's like, and I was like, as an Indian woman from Hong Kong, like, what is therapy? What is that all
Right.
about? But I ended up calling this woman who is an expert in the field of eidetic imagery. And that really began my healing journey of working on a technique that is not just talking about problems that I was facing because I couldn't access my feelings. I just was stuck.
Mhm.
And so these images have a very powerful, evocative way to bring to life. Think about watching a movie. If you see a scene in a movie, you can like picture yourself in the movie scene and you can walk around it, you can empathize into the character. That's probably why people, when they watch things, they start weeping.
Yeah.
Is because they can put themselves in that position. So can you imagine being able to do that for your own life? You can actually out image your history and your past and your experiences. So now there's more perspective, there's more ability to empathize into it and feel into it. And so that really kind of began my healing. As I was healing and doing quite well, it just became this progression. Like maybe it's so, maybe I should go back to school. I was running groups at that time using my coaching background, and I was in a room of 4 therapists, and they said, Seema, like you're good at this. Like, why don't you go back to school and become a licensed therapist? And I was like, really? Am I not too old to go back to school? And
Right.
but here I am. When I graduated my program, my daughter graduated high school. That's what happened, and here I am. Like, so I where I am here right now is really just my life, opening up in this way. And yeah, I mean, that's really that in a nutshell. I know I put a lot of words in like alchemy, true nourishment, and I'd love to delve into that a little
Yeah.
bit more, but that's the story,
Yeah.
really.
That's amazing. I mean, I would say 99% of the people that I talk to on my show are people who were going down one career path and then something happened and then they completely shifted, whether it was a health crisis or a spiritual event or whatever it might be, and they
Yeah.
found this other whole like world basically,
Yeah.
that was really probably what they were meant to do. So I love that we're talking about. We're definitely going to get into what your techniques are and explain because I'm sure many people have never heard of them. I
Yeah.
I I had heard of it, but I myself don't even have a full grasp of what it is. So we'll
No.
definitely talk about all that. But I want to ask you about holistic psychotherapy because I think there's so many people that still think of psychotherapy as just this traditional thing where you're going to
Yeah.
go and you're going to talk to somebody and they may or may not help you, or they might, if it's couples therapy, it might be like focused on one, beating up on one part of the couple and that kind of thing. But holistic psychotherapy to me is, I mean, it can mean so many different things, right? Like a lot
Right.
of therapists nowadays have brought so many different modalities into it. But what does
Yeah.
that term mean to you and your practice?
Yeah. So I'd love to sort of, because I thought I kind of was practicing holistic psychotherapy until I started practicing it in a real way. Because what happened was when I went back to school and, kind of, learned about kale and quinoa and like in my coaching program and, how to use the mind and I was like, oh, okay, this is the food. And I actually at that time created this 4 pillars of wellness, the food and then the mind and then heart and the soul. And, but it was actually in that own approach, very compartmentalized. And now, kind of a full circle, having to navigate and see the limitations of only looking at each thing separately. And now, really, the technique and the modality of therapy is really like soul making, if I may use that word. It's really about excavating all the materials of our life to uncover something that's really deep and authentic. And so the soul becomes the driver and the steerer of the ship. And when that happens, everything comes in for the ride. The mind, the body, the heart, everything kind of, then it's like all one. So intuition is driven by soul, foods you want to eat, things you want to do. It's very soul led. But I had to kind of go at it backwards. And I'm glad I did. Starting with like kale and quinoa and all of it probably made my body a little healthier. Doing some other modalities made my body, fitter. Because the soul making journey can have its own, it requires a little bit of stability, because it is quite tumultuous. But that's how I would look at holistic psychotherapy today, which is you kind of work your way to finally realizing that eating well alone is not enough, thinking well alone is not enough, feeling, well, just trying to muster feelings, fake feelings is not enough. And then there's this other thing that wants to surge. And when you put other things in place, that part wants to surge and is ready to surge. The soul can go, okay, now there's enough capacity to deal with the surge. So I'm going to surge. And when that surge happens, all your ducks better be in a row, that you better have your like good eating, even though you're going to indulge in all of it, but you better like know. And so that's really where it is. It's kind of like a full circle for me. Now being more in touch with the soul, it's like now I want to nourish the soul. Now I want to make sure I nourish the vehicle, keep my mind, body as clean as I can to serve the soul versus viewing it differently. I don't know if that answered your question again.
No, it
Yeah,
does, and it's good to
yeah,
hear your side of it as well, because other people might explain what holistic psychotherapy means to them in a different way.
yeah,
So I love the fact that you are coming at it from the place of, you know, when you say your soul, like to me, the true purpose of why people are here.
right,
And let's get beyond like all the stuff we think we're supposed to do and what our ego wants us to do and all
right,
that.
right,
So
right,
this
exactly.
has been really awesome. We're going to get into a lot more in a few minutes. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll explore more with Seema Dasani. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com or at either of my two publications, www.naturalnutmeg.com and www.essentialnaples.com. And you can learn more about my guest, Seema Dasani, at her website, which is www.seemadasani.com, and that's spelled SEEMADASANI.com. So as we were just going to break, Seema, we were talking about, what does holistic psychotherapy mean to you and your practice? And like I was saying, I love that you've brought the soul into it, because I'm in full agreement with you that that's where you really need to start, I think. But what are the other, you use the terms alchemy and true nourishment in your business as well. So what do those two terms mean to you?
Yeah, so alchemy was a term that I don't know, like it's been sort of in my purview for over 10 years. And again, sometimes I'll hit on a word, or I've been calling my practice alchemy of true nourishment without touching it. It was almost like it was a setting up a thing that I was going to live towards. I was going to fulfill this in some way. So to me, alchemy is really really transmuting so much of the inner experiences, the inner darkness, the raw materials of our lives into wisdom, into gold. I mean, I don't know if you can see this woman. I sort of have this vision of this woman sort of like full of liquid gold, like living inside out. That's alchemy, being able to take our life experiences and churn it. It's a lot of work, churning and churning and churning. And but it's very rewarding. And it gives I think oneself like depth, a wisdom and a presence that unless you go through that heat and that churning, one doesn't have. There's a sense of stability and security. Like when I go places in the past, I might be, in that achievement mode or concerned about validation. What are people thinking of me? Especially the persona. It's like now, like I've lived a little, like I've churned through some really deep states of consciousness that were really pulling me under, and I made it through. I broke seed, I broke ground. I'm above ground. This little sapling is like, hello, I'm here.
Yep.
So it just allows me to walk through life being childlike, not childish, but childlike and embrace it, and just what people's narratives are, it also makes me much more immune to their narratives because again, when one goes through this process in a very deep way, it's transformative. It's like, I will do everything to preserve my like growing flower or sapling. And that's what I remain loyal to and true to. So it's great. Initially, like when I would go through environments, because I like to dance, I will talk about dance, one of my passions. But like I'll dance, I've been dancing with a skirted legging. It's like my new thing. And initially I could tell people like, what is that? Like maybe there was a sense of, is she showing off? Like what's going on? But I keep showing up that way because it makes me feel really cute and I love it. So I
Yep.
keep doing it. And because I'm just emanating, I'm radiating and emanating that energy that I'm feeling. That's the alchemy. It's like, and I feel like people are going, oh, that's great. She's just exuding. It's fun. It's fun to
Right.
be around. So I think when you go through that process, and that really kind of speaks to the nourishment piece of it as well. I feel like, the question that has been burning for me for a long time, without again, I can remember it in hindsight, but this idea of like what feeds me, what nourishes me. Because being such a seeker, I would say that, growing up, like milk chocolate was my best friend. I would like hide in my bedroom and just inhale the Cadbury milk chocolate. That was like love. For me, it was like love, this creamy
Yep.
smoothness, and then, and I just realized like, this whole seeking thing that I have, drive to uncover. Like, what is that? It's because, like, I'm seeking. And what am I seeking? It's like I'm seeking something that just nourishes, feeds me, empowers me. It's like very, and I think that's probably why I'm drawn to dance. It has a very womb-like energy, rhythm and flow, ebb and flow. That's the kind of dance. It's like you're dancing with your own energy. So it's a full love affair with yourself and with, the people around you. It's like it's really beautiful. And that's what the nourishment is. And so, I think when we ask the question, whatever's burning for all of us, the answer is in the question we're asking. Or like the answer just reveals itself if we keep burning the question or keep the question burning as much as we can. So that's it. What nourishes me, starving. I mean, I used to do eidetic imagery, and I know we'll talk about the technique, but I used to out image myself, and I was like a hungry ghost sitting in a corner, whatever. And that was the question that burned,
So let's
inside.
let's let's do that because I'm
Yeah.
dying and I'm like I know people are like what is she talking
I
about? We've
know.
never heard of that therapy before. So
Right, right, right.
let's start by explaining what is eidetic imagery.
Okay, so I will actually just read a short paragraph because I think that will make the description succinct, and then I will explain it further if that's okay with you.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So the technique, eidetic imagery, is an evidence-based ancient practice that gives one access to deep unconscious currents of emotion, essence, and intuition. It's a highly effective way of concretizing a problem situation into vivid images. Think scenes from a movie that can be accessed, walked around, and magnified, where stuck and frozen old hurts and pains get examined, worked on, and metabolized to enable a healing elixir to flow into the mind and body. So I'm going to do a very quick thing. I'm just going to ask, we're going to both do it together. Okay. So I'm just
Okay.
going to have you without it go, we're not going to spend a lot of time, but if you just see an image, it take 10 seconds to do that. See an image of someone you don't like. Just see it in your mind's eye. Keep your eyes open. Some people like to image closed. You can keep your mind open, but just see an image of it,
Okay.
of just someone you don't like. And
Hmm.
then when you've formed an image, I will start asking you some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so as you see this person, how are you feeling?
Um like angry is not the right word, but it's just like annoyed. Yeah, like
Yeah.
irritated, annoyed.
Right. So just you feel something in your heart. Is there any part in your body that's like also really like grippy at this point?
Yeah, like I would say upper body, like shoulders, ear, like maybe the
Right.
tension like in my neck right here.
Yeah. Okay. So now we just set that aside. Now see either a spiritual figure or a mentor, somebody you love. Just see an image of somebody you love or a spiritual figure. Let me know when you're ready.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, now how do you feel?
Oh, that peaceful, relaxed,
Okay,
happy,
how's your body?
not tense.
Right. So it's the prompt is eidetic images is like scenes of a movie, or so it takes you out of, because when you talk to people, like they have a whole narrative around their childhood. I had parents like this is why I am the way I am, this is who. And so it's like memory has sort of a somewhat deadened and preset quality to it. So eidetic images is like we're going to retrieve the emotions and the original file of that experience. We're going to take it out of storage that's somewhere stored in your body, shows up as symptoms in depression, anxiety, relationship problems, or physical manifestations. And we're going to like examine it. We're going to look at it. We're going to feel it and see it as if it's happening right now. And it gives us that information to work with what shows up. And the way I work with people is because I believe whatever we carry is in our body. So everything in our environment that we've experienced lives in our body. And so I often just work with like what's going on now. And as soon as we kind of concretize the thing into an image, we walk around it, we work on it, and the feelings that get evoked and the somatic experiences in the body often leads them to like when they're 4 years old and they'll see an image of themselves being 4 years old, with a parent. And that is the part that allows, because every eidetic image, what's so beautiful about accessing it is not to re traumatize the person, it is to allow those stuck and frozen feelings that were just shunted away to come up again. And the images are so beautifully designed in that if you work them, as I work with people, work them, the healing is also right there on the other end of it. So something very painful, when worked through in a skillful way, takes the courage of the person working to it, takes the trust in the container. But when they work out onto the other end, they reclaim, earlier I talked about soul, but they reclaim a part of themselves. Because really what is soul? It's just we're born with that. This is who we are, and it gets covered up and caked in. And so we get to the healing so that healing can flow and that person starts to feel a fractal of their essence. And this happens over different experiences. And again, I think we're constellated different experiences for people to access their soul, using this experience to uncover a sliver, this experience to uncover another sliver, this experience to uncover another sliver. And before you know it, you kind of have a composite of more and more of yourself. When you were 4, you were adventurous. When you were 19, golden bubble. Like people see these images about themselves. And often the way they come to those images about themselves is a very painful experience they currently have. They navigate, they travel, they get to the other end, they experience and taste themselves, they feel themselves. And that is really very nourishing to be nourished from the inside out, right? Like to have that soul that's like energizing. And so I often see just people's nervous system calm down. I see their bodies fill out. I just see a glow. I see them radiate. Like it's amazing that mind body connection when they work these images. So I don't know, did I answer your question on eidetic image?
Oh,
I mean, it's a
yeah,
bit
I mean,
esoteric it's really hard to
right.
explain.
Right, exactly right. And you have to actually go through the process with you, I'm sure. But at least there's a starting point now for me to understand, and I'm sure, who's listening to this show as well, like, okay, I can wrap my head around the questions you asked me and visualizing that and then sensing like what's going on in my body. And then from there, it would be, how you would walk me through creating a different image and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I do I do have more questions though. I love it. We're gonna have to go to another short break, but when we come back, we'll be talking more with Seema Dasani. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and I am talking today with Seema Dasani. You can learn more about her at her website, which is www.seemadasani.com. That's spelled SEEMADASANI.com. So we just started getting into what eidetic therapy is, and the kind of the questions that you take people down, and you had me visualize, um, someone that annoys me and the feeling in my body about that, and then someone who's like a spiritual mentor who I respect or love, and like the visualization of that. But then and I think everybody can grasp that, but if we go like a bit further, like what would you do next with your client?
Yeah, I mean to be fair, I just did that as a really quick demo. So I love that you're asking this and your openness to just going a little deeper, And so what I tend to do is just, the work is using the imagery, eidetic imagery to access, the house environment, the parents, the atmosphere we grew up in. And that's a lot of the work. It's like see yourself in a place that reminds you of home, where you in the image. And that's where I take people therapeutically and they can place themselves in the home and their experience of the home. So with you, I'm going to do it a little differently because we started with the other track. So I'm going to bring in parents. But now we're going to do, it's a four-prong prompt, but I'm going to pause with each one and allow you to share and just kind of take in what you see. Okay. So I just
Sure.
want to see an image again, eyes open, eyes closed, however you image. So see an image of you crossing a road and tell me what you see.
Well, the pavement,
Yeah.
and there's grass on either side. Like it's a country road.
Okay, great. Yeah. How are you feeling?
Um, Calm. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't see any cars speeding to hit me, so
Yeah, that's great. And so you're feeling calm, you're crossing the road. It's quite scenic, is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So now the second prompt is just keep mother in mind. She doesn't appear in the image. Keeping her in mind. Now see an image of you crossing the road. What do you see?
Okay. Um, well, the same road, but if I'm thinking about her, I feel a pull not to cross the road.
Uh-huh. So just with her in mind, you're feeling a pull not to cross. So
Like apprehension about crossing the road.
okay, so how does that feel? Apprehension. So what's going on in your heart and your body?
It's like it's not like a fear of crossing the road, but maybe it's it's like she doesn't want me to cross the road.
So you sense that even with her in mind, you're like, don't cross. She's sensing don't cross.
Right.
So how does that sort of feel? Just as I know the apprehension, but a deeper feeling from the apprehension that she doesn't want you to cross and like what goes on for you?
For me, it's the responsibility. Like she has a lot of fear, and I take on a lot of the responsibility of like taking care of her so she's not fearful.
Wow. Okay. And how does that feel to sort of connect to them?
Heavy.
Yeah. Okay. I won't leave you here, I promise.
That's okay.
But we part that now, just keeping father in mind. See an
Yeah.
image of you crossing the road. What do you see?
That's like more open.
Yeah. Same
So
road or different road?
same road. It's still like country road, but there's a big open like meadow or space in front of me.
Yeah. And how are you crossing the road
Like
with him in
what,
mind?
like walking or running, or
Yeah,
I don't know, just
I'm
walking.
curious because you were calm in the first one you did by yourself. You were calm and you kind of crossed. Actually, I meant to ask you, how did you cross? Like, were you skipping? Were you just like, how was the first
Oh, the
one?
first time I was walking. This one is
Walking.
more like not more like more excited about crossing the road.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not
Okay.
necessarily running, but it's maybe more of a pep in my step.
Oh, yeah. How does that feel?
Much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like exciting. Like I'm excited about
Exciting.
something.
Yeah, that's great. So how does it translate in your body? Like if you're kind of looking at it holistically, because you're excited, I could feel your heart excitement. Anything firing in your body, in your limbs or anything? That's like,
It's just very open, like very
yeah,
freeing.
great. Okay. Now how does that feel now that you even take a step back and see you crossing the road this way with father in mind? What comes over you?
It's more, there's more confidence. It's more
Mm.
not being held back.
Mm.
Like acceptance.
Hmm. That's nice. So we're going to do the last one and then we're going to talk about it, right? So the last one is keeping a spiritual mentor or figure in mind. Living that, just keeping that mentor, spiritual figure in mind. See you cross the road. What do you see?
But that's more like a almost like the road is in the clouds. Like it's how do I explain it? It's more like a spiritual thing. Like it's misty and I'm kind of almost levitating across the road.
Yeah. How does that feel?
Very peaceful, very like loving, very open,
Yeah. How does your heart and your body feel?
calm, relaxed, peaceful.
Yeah. So this is called a filters image. I mean, in eidetic imagery, there's a repository of many images. I just kind of gave a taste of one, which gives very quick information of the filter, because again, we grow up in the households that we grow up in, and we become the first 6, 7 years of life, we're just hypnotic sponges to everything that happens around us. So just by the image and the filter of a parent, you see the difference that goes on in your body, right? So again, the deep therapeutic work would be to uncover the real blockages, often through painful experiences that's happening today that takes us back. So, do you have any questions for me? Like when I look at this, I might say, well, if you need to go into a meeting where you need to feel really super confident, I would say take a moment before you walk in and keep Father in mind because there is a pep in your step. You're gonna nail that meeting. Like, let's do this.
Yep.
But if there is another situation where there's a sense of needing, calm and peace and maybe the mentor,
Right.
and then with the heaviness of mom, that's probably where some of the work is. If there are like any challenges going on in life and problem areas, it might be looking at what are the fractals there that's stuck that we can loosen so that you can reclaim parts of you that is now caught in the heaviness that you are carrying. If does that make
Right.
sense? It's like
Oh yeah,
that's yeah,
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 absolutely.
yeah.
Who are the people that are typically drawn to you to do this kind of work? I mean, is it mostly singles? Could it also be couples? How do you work with people?
So I do couples work. I've worked with couples. I would say with couples, I feel it's much more like communications based. What I like to do is I like to work with couples individually, so they can work their ways back to each other because the work of eidetics happens very individually for me. Again, it's like if I'm talking to you about your dynamic, if you had a partner there, they can witness it, and that might be helpful. But I really like to do work with people individually on their own healing.
Right.
Typically, who I work with are men and women who are in their mid 30s and up, which is really, Jung called it or other people have called it like the, midlife or afternoon of life, which is like the first half of life is you build an identity, the
Right.
Excel spreadsheet girl, you build a career, you do this, you figure it all out, and then you realize like all this, and then in the second half, it's like all the things you've pushed under, not dealing with, coped, soothed, starts to surface and bubble up. And
Mm.
that's usually around that midlife time where people are like, what is going on? Like, I thought I had it together.
Right.
And no, it's true. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I was one of those. I'm like, I
Yep.
have it all
Yep. Me
together. Like,
too.
what?
Yep.
It's like I have it all together. And then it's all like these, almost like these beach balls, like, look, no, we're gonna surface, we're gonna come up. You're like,
Right.
oh, and then that energy to suppress or push them under is no longer there. And so that's really, I actually work with men and women that have done a nice job building the first half of life. And that's what, when I say they have depression, anxiety, relationship problems, because that's how it manifests. A lot of our parental dynamics and things that affect us play out in relationship to people.
Oh,
That's how we
absolutely.
know we're triggered. Somebody triggers us because it's projection, is this, and that's the richness of the work. As well as depression is oftentimes an expression of I always said I could win an Academy Award in depression for, because I would just push everything under, not express, not express, not express, part of my dynamic. And being in touch with those feelings and coming into expression, that's one avenue. For anxiety is more people get overwhelmed. They're not accepting of what wants to come up because
Right.
when things come up, people don't want to accept and see it. That's the thing that produces anxiety. So having crossed all three myself, I'm able to work with people. And a lot of their coping mechanisms I've used, whether it's chocolate, alcohol, like it's just these are ways to cope and not deal. And so I feel like I speak their language as well.
I love it. Yeah. We're going to talk about much more. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. When we take a quick break, we'll come back with Seema Dasani. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. You can learn more about me at www.drdianehayden.com. And I'm talking today with Seema Dasani, and you can learn more about her at her website, which is www.seemadasani.com. And that's spelled SEEMADASANI.com. So I love everything that we've talked about. I mean, this is really a remarkable modality that you have, and probably something that most people have never heard of. And it makes, I mean, just you walking me through, makes so much sense in terms of how effective it can be. um, but what would you say, what else would you say about what makes this work effective? Is it the type of people that come to you? Is it some of the things that they are struggling with, or is it the imagery itself, or what would you say?
I would say sort of three things, and I think you've touched on them. So I think first and foremost, I'm going to lead with actually the inner process. Having traveled the inner journey, um, you know, like I don't use that language so much, but sometimes I'll mention it to people. It's almost like an attachment theory focused, which is kind of creating a safe environment. If since I've traveled and walked that journey, there's a natural cadence. There's a natural sense of people feel held, that they're going to be okay, that there's nothing too dark, too that's not going to be accepted, not or acceptable. Like it's all okay. And I think that first and foremost creates the space where people come in and feel like okay, like I can do this and I can go there. So I think people sense that it's a rhythm that starts right off at the beginning, going back to dance, a rhythm that kind of happens.
Right.
The work is very effective in the sense of because it concretizes, a situation. It takes people out of just talking because talking, if you think about like, oftentimes you can just get stuck in a narrative, and that's what we
Exactly.
see oftentimes, like, oh, I had this kind of parents or I'm this, that, and so that can get you stuck. Like it's good to a certain point because it can give you a sense of self-compassion, but you don't want to stay there.
Right.
You want to move to healing, right? You want to move to alchemy. And so to do that, the work concretizes the problem. You can feel the situation viscerally. You can work through it. And this is the working through it is what brings to the third point, which is the courage of the clients. Yes, they sense safety. The technique is effective, but my goodness, the people that sit across from me that do the work, I mean, I always say it's your work. Like this
Right.
field is available, but it's your work. I mean, I marvel. Like they transform in real time. Like there's a glow or their body posture changes. It's remarkable. I'm in awe. Like it's an honor to be able to witness that in people. So it is that trifecta. And again, people kind of go to different places with the work. Sometimes there might be more resistance. And so, great, we hang out in the soothing, comfort, care. And that's very valuable, I think. I stayed there therapeutically in a long time myself until I was ready to go to the next level. So I would say it's the full gamut. And
Right.
it is the trifecta of the field, the containment, the person, and the technique. It is kind of all together.
And how long do people typically work with you? Like, is this, um, it runs the gamut as far as, I've
Absolutely.
some psychotherapists or coaches will work with someone for, you know, 5 sessions based on what their modality is. Some people work for a year. So typically, what do you find in terms of what's the commitment?
Well, the funny thing is I have all the gamuts. So I have I have I have somebody that worked with me 5 sessions because they were solving through something. And the tool and technique is a very effective way to see a situation clearly. And that what I sometimes call the razor's edge. You know, some people coming in are not looking for deep therapy. They're just trying to navigate a particular situation, a particular
Right.
issue. But they actually have a lot of faculty to not be at the effect of the gravitational pull of life. You know, I'm saying, you know, you're being a mindset warrior is exactly like when they reach that point where they can make a choiceful choice, then they know like, okay, either I'll continue working with Seema or like, no, I'm going to run with it. So
Right.
that's that point. But I would say the people that come to me often come to me with a great deal of overwhelm. They're very bright, they're very accomplished in careers and stuff, but with that overwhelm. And so I would say, you know, so far I've worked with people like 2, 3 years and then they scale back a bit to maybe an every other week or a monthly model. And then eventually it's no longer. But it really runs the gamut. Like I said, you know, 5 sessions, 10 sessions to people really, if they're doing deep transformational work, I mean, that's deep.
Oh
That's
yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when they, and then I always, you know, I even one time I had somebody that wanted, you know, that was worried about me not being on their schedule, but there was a sense that they were ready to go. And all I said was like, see an image of me not being on your schedule. How do you feel? So we did a whole
Exactly.
session on just that. And then she ended up seeing that she actually had a magic tool belt. And like, you know, if she needed me, she could call. But it was a sense of empowerment I like to leave people with too. When they feel they're done and ready, they should totally go for it. And that being able to, again, where you're no longer at the effect of the triggers in as deep a way as you used to be, because I think a lot of us are like bundled of unconditioned, you know, we're reflexive. But if
Right.
you're at the place where you have choice and you make the conscious choice and you feel like I'm ready, then you see what's right for you. So, I
Right.
mean, yeah, so it's a full gamut that I have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and of course, like you said, it's individualized depending on what people are
completely.
coming to you,
Yeah,
for and that kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, what is one thing you want our listeners to take away from our time together today?
Oh my God, it's so hard. One thing. Yeah, I was thinking about a quote that I have up on my wall. This idea of like there's a crack in everything and that's how the light gets in. And so I don't know, I've just been really kind of drawn to this idea is like broken can be beautiful again. It's like, we are all just, it's not the striving for like we have to be perfect, get it right. It's that we all have had life experience and life is hard. And it's just like putting the pieces together in a beautiful mosaic and that's the alchemical gold that pieces it all together and forms something that can be marvelous and magnificent. So, but that's my journey, going to where I'm at to. So that's kind of that message, that I'd like to leave people
Yeah,
knowing.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really beautiful. And I think it is, um, one thing that you said that stuck with me is just getting to a place where the triggers just don't aren't that, you know, uh, subconscious, I guess, anymore. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you have triggers and you're not, you don't even realize it's happening until
Right.
even after the fact, if at all. So
Mm.
kind of getting to this place where you see it happening, you can pause and you can make a different choice. That's
Right.
huge for people.
And to be able to really then take the guidance, right? So much guidance is given. Sorry, that's my printer just goes off automatically doing its own thing. Um, but people sometimes like given good advice, like do this or do that. But if they're so submerged, it just falls on deaf ears. So the work is to bring them a little above the water where they can become a sponge for wellness messages and this and that and the other, and so it can penetrate more into their being because again, they're no longer just so under, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when
Yeah.
people take hiatuses from me, I just say to them, okay, remember, you raise his edge, the choice is yours. If we're not checking in weekly, remember, you are empowered to make the choice, but you
Right.
have to make it, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So what's the best way if someone is curious about learning more, they know they want to work with you, how should they contact you and what's the
Yeah.
initial process like?
So, certainly my website has the information, but, emailing me at info@seemadasani.com is a really quick way to get to me as well. Those are the best ways, to just get in touch with me. And then what I do in the process is I schedule with people, get them some dates and times. I schedule like pretty generous with my intro sessions, 30-minute, sometimes even more Zoom call on a time that works for both of us, where we just talk about what's going on. I explain eidetics to them and take them through an image. And it's a really great way just for us to see if this is going to work, because it's really about rhythm. I go back, that's my favorite word. I feel it's all about rhythm. And so when I'm across from somebody, if this is what they're yearning for, this idea of alchemy or nourishment, there's a sensuality that's in themselves, that's yearning expression. There's something that will play out in that half hour for us to go, yeah, you're speaking my language, got it. Yes, I'd like to go forward further. So that's what generally happens, in the process. But the website, info@seemadasani.com, best ways to contact me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to depend on, what they're coming to you with or for, and like you said about how many sessions somebody might need
Right.
and want to work through. And sometimes things lead to other things. Like honestly, I mean, somebody could come for, I don't know, a situation with like a couple's relationship, and then there could be something else related to work or
Yeah.
parents or whatever. Like there's a lot of stuff that can be healed for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that, in that half hour or that we spend together, it's really just the visceralness of the eidetics, give people this idea, because often people will come to me going, I've done therapy before, talk therapy doesn't work. It's very interesting. Like when I introduce
Yeah.
myself as a therapist, it's sort of like a dirty word in the community. I don't know what it is. People just have this like, oh, no, 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 stop, stop. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not
Well, probably because
analyzing
they had a
you.
bad experience with someone,
Right,
honestly.
exactly.
Like,
And so,
yeah,
exactly. And so this idea is just like, it's really like full mind, full body. It is to lead you to a place of wholeness and beauty and expression, not to go into trauma and just for its purpose, just for the sake of it. There's
yeah,
a purposefulness about not just surviving, but about thriving. That's exciting. And I sense that that's the people who come,
right.
they feel that, they sense that that's possible, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Well, I want to thank you so much for all this amazing information, and I'm sure people will be reaching out to you to learn more. It's been eye-opening for me, very enlightening, and I love what you're doing. I love what
Thank
you're
you,
doing.
Diane. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I want to thank all of you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show. Please join me the first and third Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Pacific, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. And please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. I will see you guys back here next time. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.